I never imagined I'd be at odds with my HOA president, but life sure has a way of surprising you. My name is Daniel Green, and until 6 months ago, I was living a peaceful suburban life in Sycamore Heights, an upscale neighborhood with well-kept lawns and identical houses that promised serenity. Little did I know, behind this calm exterior was Karen Wilcox, the HOA president, a suburban dictator in disguise. I first met Karen at the neighborhood mixer. She approached me with a smile that never quite reached her eyes, clipboard in hand. "Welcome to Sycamore Heights," she said, her enthusiasm practiced. "I'm Karen Wilcox, HOA president. Here's our Community Guidelines Handbook." She handed me a surprisingly heavy binder. We pride ourselves on maintaining property values through strict adherence to the rules. I thanked her and tried to enjoy the party. I noticed how other neighbors tensed up when Karen approached. They all wore fake smiles and nodded eagerly at whatever she said. My first month passed without incident. I spent my days working from home as an environmental consultant and enjoyed evenings by my backyard pool. But trouble started when I decided to repaint my front door. The old maroon was faded, so I chose a deep navy blue to complement the house's gray siding. I was halfway through the second coat when Karen knocked on my door. "Did you submit a color change request form?" she asked, arms crossed tightly. According to Section 4.7 of the HOA Guidelines, any exterior changes need approval. Navy blue isn't on the approved palette. You must restore it to maroon by tomorrow, or face a $50 daily fine. Rather than argue, I repainted the door. The next day, Karen walked by, nodding in satisfaction when she saw the restored color, taking a photo for her records. I thought that would be the end of it. But no. Over the next few weeks, I received violation notices for minor infractions. My garbage can was visible on a non-collection day. My grass was a fraction too tall. My potted plants weren't on the approved list. Other houses had similar or worse violations, but they got no notices. At a HOA meeting, Karen dismissed my concerns with a wave. "We're addressing all violations. Some residents simply accumulate more infractions than others." Summer arrived, and I used my pool more often. One evening, while hosting a small barbecue, Karen appeared at the fence. "Excuse me," she called loudly. "Your gathering is exceeding the acceptable noise level. It's 65 decibels, and the limit is 55. She held up her phone with a sound meter app. Confused, I explained, "We're just talking. There's no loud music or noise." "Noise perception is subjective," she replied. "The app doesn't lie." She then pointed at the pool. "Also, pools shouldn't be used after 7:30 p.m. A friend, a lawyer, stepped in. "Restricting pool use on private property goes beyond HOA authority," he said. Karen narrowed her eyes. "Are you a real estate attorney?" "No?" "Then stick to your expertise." She turned to me. "Consider this a verbal warning. Next time, it will be documented." The absurdity continued when I installed solar-powered path lights. 2 days later, I received a formal notice claiming they were non-conforming and caused competitive illumination discrepancies with neighborhood lamp posts. I decided it was time to confront Karen directly. I emailed the board, asking for a meeting. To my surprise, Karen agreed. When I arrived at her colonial-style home, she told me it was just her, as the other board members had prior commitments. I presented my concerns with photographs showing similar violations that had gone unaddressed. Karen smiled thinly. "You seem to misunderstand the purpose of our guidelines," she said. "They preserve property values and community aesthetics. If you continue to disregard them, perhaps you're not suited for our neighborhood." "Are you suggesting I should move?" I asked incredulously. "Some people adapt better to community living than others," she replied. "Those who value their individualism might be happier in a neighborhood without an HOA." I left her house angry, but determined not to be pushed out. That night, I dug into the HOA bylaws. I found something interesting. While the rules were detailed, Karen's complaints weren't actually codified. They were her personal interpretations, enforced selectively. The next day, I emailed the entire HOA board and copied all residents whose emails I had. I pointed out inconsistencies in enforcement and asked for clarification. Karen's response was swift and furious. She called me furious, saying I had undermined her authority. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," she hissed. "I've been president for 7 years because I maintain standards. People who challenge me don't last long in Sycamore Heights." This was no longer just about HOA rules, it was a personal threat. I installed security cameras around my property. 3 days later, I returned home from a trip to find disaster. My pool was filled with motor oil. The surrounding concrete was stained, and the garden beds were soaked. I called the police and my insurance company, then checked my security footage. It was Karen, dressed in dark clothing, pouring something into my pool. She made multiple trips, emptying 5-gallon containers into the water. When the police confronted her, she denied everything, claiming the footage was doctored. But when shown multiple angles and timestamps, her story collapsed. She insisted she was just enforcing HOA rules, though she couldn't explain what violation justified dumping oil into a private pool. The EPA got involved due to the contamination, and the cleanup cost was over $120,000. They also fined Karen $500,000 for illegal disposal of hazardous waste. At a subsequent HOA meeting, the board voted to remove Karen as president. She sat in shock as I approached her after the meeting. $500,000, she whispered, staring at me with hollow eyes. That's more than my house is worth.